Are you tired of getting to the end of the year? Your wire's in a mess. You've got all this rubbish here. You've got a thing that's empty. And what's worse is you've got no money. Do you want to know what my answer is to that? Well, watch on and see what you think of my solution to recycling wire. Hi, it's Xavier, and I'm by the back door, and it's windy, and we're also about to go back into another cold snap. I'm not going to work on any trees. I'm going to do more boring stuff as part of my bonsai basics. I know in some of my early videos I make a point about trying not to reuse wire like that straight into a tree, and I'll often cut the bends off. But even I have to admit that that's getting just a little bit expensive. So as part of the bonsai basics, I thought I'd show you how I have been recycling my wire recently. Lengths like this can still be used, and you can make them pretty straight. And I'm sure most of you have seen the trick, but we'll take this. I think this is 2.5 mil, and if you can see what it looks like there, nicely bent. I've carefully taken that off a branch, and to be honest, when you take wire off a branch, it's the same degree of care. You know, you'll often use two sets of pliers or pliers, and you'll carefully unroll. So how do I straighten that? I'm glad you asked. Pliers, and then all you do is pull and twist, and it's normally in the direction of the way you've bent it initially. And yeah, you need to have the biceps, but even I... Oh, that was a big blow. I don't know what we're going to get from that, but hopefully my camera's all right. Okay, so more than happy with that. That'll go into I've got quite a long storage box, which I'll put that in. Same with that. And the reason why I'll keep something like this okay, this is a little bit better. It's always more difficult to do it on smaller, shorter pieces. But what I'll use these for is bridges. Yeah, so that'll be just straightened enough so that I can take a little bit off the bottom and use that as a bridge for smaller marmite pots. Again, something like this, all twisted up. And that is now more than adequate to be used on a tree. So I will keep a lot of these points that I'll take off, and I'll recycle them that way. The other thing is, keep them in a basket and take them to your local scrapyard, although I'm not sure whether or not they'll do anything with them. And the only other thing, so you've got something of that length, and yes, sure, what is it, 5-6 inches? You could probably use that on a tree. But what I'll actually do is, actually what I might need is to make I'll already make some securing butterflies or whatever they're called, and I know you think I don't know what size hole it is, but I've got a pretty good idea. And that's the other thing you can use the wire for. So make sure you don't lose your scraps. You can either straighten it, or you can create your securing things for it, or you can have spare pieces for your bars that go underneath your pots, just to demonstrate. Got this lovely Dawn Isaac pot, and I will be doing a little video on her work. Beautiful, lovely fronts, really like it. But the reason why we have a bar is because on the base there, if there were no other holes, it's impossible to secure the tree in. So what you would do is you'd take a bit of scrap that you've got ready in a little box. You'd have a look and think, right, then you would just cut off the length necessary to make your bar. So rather than continue taking off good wire, you make sure you're using recycled wire. Same with your attachment, butterfly, I don't know what they call them. There we go. And that was originally a bit of wire that's been used to straighten a branch. I'm sure that most of you already do that. And the only reason I'm doing this is because for 20 years I wasn't. I'd never heard of the plier technique, and I was continually using up all my rolls of decent wire. So hopefully you're going to find that useful. Waste not, want not, certainly in this current climate. I saw Ryan's recent video on his Dawn Redwood, I think, and he showed me I think it's 1mm wire, and it was everywhere, and this is a mess. That's why I got given one of these one Christmas about 5 years ago. Lovely wheel. I think I got it from Greenwood's Bonsai, just up the road. Got these lovely wheels, and you think, that's wonderful. And the first year I used it, I put all my wire on there, and I felt like I was a king in my own back garden. Apart from the fact that when they run out of wire, you've got to rewind the wire on, which takes a while, but that's why we have winter. But also, sometimes that doesn't have all the wire you want, so you don't end up taking this to your bonsai area, but you're also taking your wire box. And your wire box also has all your wire in it. So what's the solution? There is none. You've just got to get used to the fact that you put your most favourite or your most used wires on the caddy, or you give up on the caddy and you just get a bigger and bigger cardboard box. This year I'm definitely going to be rewinding my wires onto the caddy because it was a gift. In fact, it was a gift from my wife, so I'll do that. I'll leave my caddy wiring for a little bit in the evening when it's cold and horrible and raining. As you know, I don't know, this one will just follow closely on the heels of my Scots Pine rewire. And you know I use lots of 6mm wire. Wow, I use some 6mm wire. In fact, all that's left is that piece there. Now I know Tony won't throw away that piece, but he can't because it's mine. But of course, I had to buy some more. Yangyan aluminium wire, professional wire, 6mm, and it's a 500 gram roll, £12.50. I bought 3 more rolls because I know I'm going to be doing more juniper work. But that's £36. I don't know how that converts. What's that? $45. I don't know whether that's good around countries. In fact, tell you what, put down in your comments and tell me how much it costs you to get a 500 gram reel of wire, because it'd be quite interesting to see the difference. Well, actually, it's probably not that interesting. I talked about unwinding this, and slow time. I will do just that, and that will probably go on the caddy wheel because that's just totally unmanageable and it's wasteful. So what are the normal wires that I'll have for my usual bonsai career? Makes it feel like a professional. No, I find the 1mm really small and fine. I do use it, and that will be on the finer juniper work, but often I find that if it's using this wire, it's probably too thin to be wired, or I'm not skilled enough to use it properly. I found that when I've used that really thin stuff on my junipers, I tend to kill the juniper shoots. Most of what I've got is 2mm, 2.5, 3, 3.5 and 4mm. They'll all be the ones that I'll regularly use, certainly on my deciduous trees. So I always make sure I've got a couple of rolls of each of those, and that box is full. 2.5mm, I don't know, 4mm. Actually, it often helps to have a little measuring device, so you can remind yourself what you've got, because often you'll lose the labels, and difference between 2.5 and 3 and 2, sometimes it's hard to tell. Oh, typical. We had some quite high winds yesterday, and well, you can hear it in the background. And this raft juniper, it's in a lovely old pot. I bought it in 2002, to be honest, and looks like that's fallen off the benches. Well, I'll have to quickly do something with that. That'll be an emergency repot, I fear. So from Xavier at the back door, with the wind howling around, I'll say happy bonsai, God bless. Cheers.